In this video, we've got your full in-depth review of the Sony 20mm F1.8. We're breaking it down as usual, everything that you need to know to determine whether or not you should be buying it. Let's get started. Welcome guys, we're diving right into a review on the Sony 20mm F1.8. This is what it looks like. I'm shooting on it here. It's quite a wide angle lens, as you can see, maybe even too wide for what I typically shoot, but everybody's needs are different. This is going to be a great video lens or a vlogging lens. As you can see, I'm about 1.5 feet away, so it's going to be great for vloggers, but it all depends on your needs. Who's this lens for? Is it for a beginner? Probably not. It can be quite difficult to balance the foreground and background, so I'd recommend this to an intermediate, and you can even get professional results out of this lens, absolutely. It's got the great quality and performance that's very close to the 24mm F1.4, and if you are looking at both of these lenses, or if you have a short list and these are kind of ones you're considering, I do have a full in-depth comparison video between those two lenses, as well as an in-depth review on the 24, so make sure you check that out. And guys, if you haven't seen one of my videos before, my name's Stefan Malloch. I do a lot of photography and filmmaking news reviews and tutorials, so if you do enjoy this type of content, you like this video and it helps you out, well, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Anyways, having said that, let's dive right into build. So a quick look at what's in the box reveals the typical Sony basics. You've got your standard paperwork. Sony has included a nice little leather pouch, and you've got your lens and a lens hood. The build is quite good, and on par if not better than what we'd expect from a G-series lens. Measuring only 4¼ inches long with the lens hood, and 3¼ without, it's a great size, and weighing under a pound means this lens is going to be great for gimbal work and traveling. It has a few convenient features, including a customizable focus hold button, an automatic manual focus switch, and a customizable aperture dial. Sony definitely kept video shooters in mind when they made this lens. The focus ring is electronically coupled to your camera and turns easily and confidently. On the front, you'll find 67mm filter threads, as well as Sony's patented nano AR coating, which helps with ghosting and flaring. This lens has a nice and close minimum focus distance of only 0.19 meters or 0.63 feet. This lets you get up close and personal with your subjects, allowing for some really interesting shots. On the back, you'll find a nice sturdy metal base with weather sealing. However, it's not quite as beefy as what you'd find on the 24. So looking at build as a whole, a great little package from Sony, no image stabilization, but decent build and features all around, and I give it 4 stars. Next, in terms of value, you'll see shortly that it's quite comparable to the 24 G Master, and it's quite a bit cheaper. Coming in at $900 US, it's not a cheap lens, and I would have liked to see it priced closer to the 35 f1.8, but this lens does have more bells and whistles. Its biggest competitors, of course, are the 24 f1.4 G Master, as well as the bigger, heavier, and cheaper Sigma. In the end, you always get what you pay for, and this G-series lens is no different. We'll look at performance next. It will tell more of the story, but in this case, I give it 4 stars for value. So now let's have a look at performance, and I'm happy to say that it's quite good at almost everything. Its autofocus, which is basically silent, utilizes Sony's XD linear focus motors for quiet and quick reliability. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. It's definitely not the fastest I've seen, and it's not quite as accurate as the 24, but it does the job. In good light, it's fairly good. In low light here, where I'm pushing the limits, it does struggle a little bit, being slow to focus and hunting here and there, but it's a decent performance. I found the autofocus when it comes to stills even faster and more reliable. This is typical of most lenses, and keep in mind that this is a newer release from Sony, with firmware bound to come out to improve its performance. Now let's have a look at the sharpness and optics of this lens. Wide open at f1.8, in the center is incredibly sharp, and the corners are just about the same. An incredibly sharp performance wide open, you can see a little bit of vignetting, but stop down to about f2.8 to see that completely gone, and the sharpness improves. Stop down even further all the way to about f8 for your sharpest image, and I found it absolutely fantastic all the way to about f11, and after f11 all the way to about f16, you start to see some softness creep in, and stopped all the way down to f22, your image does get a little bit soft. When it comes to distortion and vignetting, you're only going to find that heavy vignetting wide open, and the distortion is pretty much well controlled throughout the entire aperture range. Once again, optically a fantastic performance. As this lens has caught the eye of video lovers, I will mention that unfortunately, it doesn't perform particularly well when it comes to focus breathing. With 9-bladed aperture, the bokeh of this lens is actually pretty decent for an spherical ultra-wide angle lens. Don't expect wonders, as this is not what these lenses are built for, but in this lens's case it does a particularly good job. Compared to the 24 1.4 however, it does leave something to be desired. Because this question is asked all the time, here's the difference in focal length between the 20 and the 24. Looking at performance as a whole, a great little package Sony's put together, incredibly sharp, it's going to take whatever you throw at it, and I give it 4 solid stars. So wrapping up, this lens has a lot of what people are looking for, and then a little bit more. It's definitely not a G Master lens, but optically, it comes very close. As usual, here's my personal pros and cons for this lens. Rating this lens as a whole, it's a solid pickup, great size, great weight, decent price, and I give it 4 stars. If you're a subscriber, you also know that I like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. And if you're looking for a crazy sharp, decent overall ultra wide angle lens, well, I consider this one. So there it is, guys. There's my review on the 20mm f1.8 from Sony. Let me know your thoughts about this lens down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Drop all your questions and your comments down below. If you're ready to buy this lens, I'll leave affiliate links in the description for you. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.